Hey, what's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Mark, where I like talking all things music, news stories, and my own personal series, Mark Under the Microscope, where I give you an inside look into who I am as a person through inspirational and motivational vlogging. So if you like things like that, please remember to slash that like button and annihilate that subscribe button and hit that post notification bell. I drop videos like this every Monday and Friday and every day in between. And also, leave me comments down below. I love interacting with you guys, and I also do subscriber requests, so huge shout out to my subscribers out there. I love you guys because without you, there would be no me and there would be no channel. But I think I've talked enough, so let's just jump straight into these videos. Let's go!
I knew you'd come. Somehow I just knew you'd find me. Not knowing where I was or when I was coming back sent you crazy. I kept my spies on you.
Oh, I love that.
The name of this song is Uncle Sam Damn. It's a show tune, but the show ain't been written for it yet. We gonna see if Tony Jerome and the band can maybe work it out for me. Straighten me out right quick. I like it so far, man.
I love this bluesy type vibe I'm getting at the beginning.
Come on, let's go. Welcome to the United Snakes, land of the thief, home of the slave. Grand Imperial Guard, where the dollar is sacred and proud. Let's do this for real, come on now. Smoke and mirrors, stripes and stars, stoning for the cross in the name of God. Bloodshed, genocide, rape and fraud, written to the pages of the law, good law. The cold continent latchkey child ran away one day and started acting foul. You know where the wild things are, daddy's proud, cause the Roman Empire done passed it down. Imported and tortured the workforce, healed the wounds or shook the curse off. Now the grown-up Goliath nation holding open auditions for the part of David. Can you feel? Nothing can save you. You question the rain, you get rushed in and chained up. Fish raised, but I must be insane, cause I can't figure single damn way to change. Welcome to the United Snakes, land of the thief, home of the slave. The Grand Imperial Guard, where the dollar is sacred and power is God. Welcome to the United Snakes, land of the thief, home of the slave. The Grand Imperial Guard, where the dollar is sacred and power is God. All must bow to the fat and lazy. The obey me, or why do they hate me? Who me? Only 2 generations away from the world's most despicable slavery trade. Pioneered so many ways to degrade a human being that it can't be changed to this day. Legacy so ingrained in the way that we think we no longer need chains to be slaves.
Come on!
Lord, it's a shameful display. The overseers even got raped along the way. Cause the children can't escape from the pain, and they born with the poisonous hatred in their veins. Try and separate a man from his soul, you only strengthen him and lose your own. But shoot that if he walk near the throne. Remind him that this is my home, now I'm gone. Welcome to the United Snakes, land of the thief, home of the slave.
Come on!
Grand Imperial Guard, where the dollar is sacred and power is God. Welcome to the United Snakes, land of the thief, home of the slave. The Grand Imperial Guard, where the dollar is sacred. Hold up, give me one right here, hold up. You don't give money to the bums on the corner with a sign bleeding from their gums.
Come on!
Talking about you don't support a crackhead. What you think happens to the money from your taxes? The government's the addict with $1 billion a week, kill brown people habit.
Come on!
Even if you ain't on the front line when Master yell crunch time, you right back at it. Man, look at how you hustling backwards. At the end of the year, add up what they subtracted. 3 out of 12 months, your salary pay for that madness. Man, that's savage. What's left? Get a big ass plasma to see where they made Dan rather point the damn camera.
Come on!
Proof questions get answered. Now stand your ass up for that national anthem. Welcome to the United Snakes, land of the thief, home of the slave. The Grand Imperial Guard, where the dollar is sacred and power is God. Welcome to the United Snakes, land of the thief, home of the slave. Grand Imperial Guard, where the dollar is sacred and power is God.
I like this. This was so masterfully done. Wow. Okay, so I quickly want to talk about Brother Ali with Uncle Sam. Goddamn, I love the whole. I want to sit here at first talk about the cinematography behind this video. I love that he chose to go with this because of the simple fact that it's almost like a documentary of how U.S. history is and how it has been over the course of the centuries. And I love it because it's coming from somebody who's not of minority descent. It's not coming from a Native American. It's not coming from somebody who's African American. It's not coming from somebody who's Latino American. It's coming from somebody who's white. And when you sit there, and it's like, the reason why I say that is because oftentimes when you hear songs like this or political statements like this that are made through music and artistry, you always get that, oh, there goes that angry black man, or there goes that angry black woman, or there goes that angry Latino American person. Why can't they just get over it? Or if it was a Native American, oh, why can't they just get over it? I mean, we gave them this, we gave them that, they're free now, they're this and they're that. But then when you see it coming from somebody else, from a different skin color, who comes from a different background, and can recognize that how America has treated people as all people that come up in a society, and this goes for disenfranchised rule American white Americans as well, because they, I know I haven't said that a couple of times, but they tend to be ostracized too, because it's more of a class level than it is a skin level, where we have to sit there as minorities. We have to get it from class and we have to get it from race. So it's like they're disenfranchised as well by just the class level of being othered, because they don't sit there and have the same social standing or social status as their other white counterparts that are within America. So it's like when you sit there and can see a video like this, and to see someone who's not a minority sit there and bring these problems to the forefront and show how America is, and how you need to sit there and look at the distorted reflection of who America is and what it was built upon, and to see it come from somebody who's not of a minority stand. And it kind of sits there and shows you, like, there are people, like, whether people want to sit there and believe it or not, that there are people who do see the struggle, who do see that the plight that minorities have to go through in this country, and not everybody is bad like they try to sit there and paint people to be. That there are allies within other cultures and different varying groups that understand that, yeah, we are that understands how America was built, to understand how corrupt our country is at times when it comes to race, class, and society. Now, in the system, does that mean that I would want to be anywhere else? No. But at the same time, it's not treasonous to sit there and say that, to sit there and go against the grain, and to sit there and say how you're being treated unjustly and unfairly. Because it's like, I'm a black American man, And to sit there and think that, oh, racism still doesn't exist, or to sit there for people to sit there and say that, oh, well, you're free and it's not as like it used to be. Yeah, it may not sit there and be like where I'm getting hung from a tree and have to worry about somebody wearing a hood and kidnapping me in the middle of the night, or sitting there coming in and sitting there snatching me from my home, or putting me on a field and picking cotton or rice or sugar cane or whatever. But I mean, you still have the system set up in the way it is, because 9 times out of 10 I'm still more likely to be convicted. Like if you were to put me in a white American male, I would be 9 times convicted more than that person would be, than that white American male. And if it was the same offense, and I would be in prison longer, my prison sentence would be longer than theirs, if at all they were to get jail time. They could sit there and get put on probation, where I would be put into the system. And that goes for Latino Americans as well, because Latino Americans have to face that disenfranchisement as well because of their brown skin. And because when you sit there and look at the prison industrial complex, who are the most people who are in those systems, and who this stop and frisk sit there and affect the most of? It affected people within, especially within New York. It affected Latino Americans, and it affected Black Americans. And so it's like when you sit there and think about situations like that, and to be able to hear somebody and have them put it all together, and just the opening line where he said, "Welcome to America," and then he said, "Land of the free, home of the snakes," or something like that within the lyrics. That was like so impactful and so profound. And you sit there and think about it, because you sit there and think about how so many times where you have to feel like within your own country you have to look over your shoulder, even though we're all supposed to be Americans, and if you were to cut our skin, we will all sit there and still bleed crimson flesh. But just because the color of your skin, people will see you as other, and they will tend to typecast you and ostracize you because of that. They'll sit there and be like, oh, well, no, I'm not Black, so that doesn't affect me. Oh, I'm not Latino, so that doesn't affect me. Oh, I'm not white, that doesn't affect me. When people need to come to the realization that it's like, if one thing affects one person, it's only so often that it's going to trickle down and affect somebody else, to affect another culture. So like right now, where we're having like this whole thing with in America, where they're sitting there talking about the border walls and building a wall, which to me is so stupid and so asinine, to sit there and say, oh, we're gonna build a wall, like somebody like we don't live in a time where you can still sit there and take a plane to get over, unless you're sitting there building the wall from the damn ground all the way up to the damn moon. I don't sit there and see where you think that somebody's still not going to come over. And if you still can't sit there and do that, you can still come under. So I feel like that's a waste of taxpayers' money, but that's a whole other system within itself. But to sit there and try to sit there and classify that that all Latinos, preferably Mexicans, are rapists, drug dealers, and things like that, is so asinine and so stupid. Like, I hate that we live in a culture and within a country that sits there and tends to sit there on other people just because of the color of their skin, because of the language that they speak, because of the religion that they choose to practice, because it's like, it's so crazy. And it's like a lot of us don't sit there and stick together. It's like yeah, it's like, especially like me being a Black American, okay, anybody knows, like Black Americans as well, you know how we've been disenfranchised so long, and you've seen how we weren't really free until after like the 1960s, 1970s, when civil rights and everything and all that passed and everything. So we weren't technically free until the 1970s. People want to sit there and say that you were free in slavery. No, we weren't technically free until then, because we still had to deal with Jim Crow, we still had to deal with lynchings, we still had to deal with other things within the Black Panther, the Black Power movement, when they were sitting there doing things like that and killing off all our Black leaders and turning them against each other. So it's like we still had to deal with situations like that and being thrown into jails and everything like that, and have a separate but equal, and just dumb asinine stuff that America wanted to sit there and portray and put out. It's just like, it's just crazy how you have to sit there and think about it, and to sit there and see how we as people, where we're supposed to be a country that's supposed to be predicated on freedom and being liberty and land of the free and home of the brave, it's just like you sit there and think about it like, are we truly free in 2019? And it makes you think, especially when you hear songs like this, even though this song came out, I'm assuming 12 years ago. So it's like, I don't know, it just makes you think like, when is it going to change? When are things going to change? When are things going to stop? When are people going to stop being typecasted? Like, even when you sit there and think of, like, with Muslim American people, where they sit there and think that, where they try to sit there and classify all Muslims, Americans, after 9/11 as terrorists. And it's like, what type of ridiculousness is that? Like, aren't we supposed to, wasn't our country, and I don't even want to say founded, because it really wasn't even founded, because technically, if you want to be clear, you can't find something that was already inhabited. But when they sat there and came in to the country, that's the word I like to use whenever I was in school. They came into the country and they met the Native Americans. I don't like sitting there saying founded, because you can't find something that's already been found and already been inhabited by a people. But that's another story. But it's like, what type of stupidness, like, what isn't that what our country was supposed to be about being able to live freely and to practice our beliefs freely and to live freely amongst each other and to not judge each other because of the color of our skin, because of our nationality, because of our creed, our ethnicity. But then it's like, when you sit there and think about it and you see things like this in the imagery that he painted, it's like, almost, it's like you still see things are changing, because we have President Orange, who's in the White House now, who's sitting there doing, and this is no offense to people who sit there and vote for him, because he promised you guys some things, but it's like, maybe it's me, I don't see what he's doing for you guys that's worthwhile, but it's like, and I also don't sit there and classify anybody who voted for him as being racist. I think that that's an asinine thing to sit there and say too, because you can't sit there and say that people sat there and voted for him because he was racist. I mean, because that people who voted for him are racist. Because, I mean, when you look at the person that he was sitting there running up against, and this is no disrespect towards Hillary, but it's like, almost like, who do you sit there and choose? Because she doesn't have a squeaky clean record either, and she wasn't somebody who, I voted third party in the election when it was against Hillary and Donald Trump, because I wasn't voting for neither one of them, because I don't like what neither one of them stood for. Because when you sit there and look at it, African Americans and Latino Americans were at their highest peak of being in the prison industrial complex under the Clinton administration. So I'm not going to sit there and vote for somebody who disenfranchised and put laws into place that disenfranchises my people, especially for people who do petty crimes, where you sit there and still have other people who are walking freely. But I digress in that situation. But it's just like, who am I to sit there and say that somebody is racist because they decided to vote for him? Because it's like, you can't sit there and say that, because he did sit there and have this promise where he was sitting there promising jobs and economic growth and things like that. So you can't help but people wanted change. They wanted something different. They wanted to go from the norm of the different politics. But then when you sit there and see, and the type of hate and rhetoric that he sit there and spews every day on a constant basis, it's like, sometimes you're like, when is it going to end? But it's like, who am I to sit there and say that people who did vote for him are that way? I'm not going to cast aspersions or judgment on somebody for that, because I don't know those people's heart who voted for him. I don't know those people's minds, their spirits, their character, to sit there and say, oh, you're racist. Like, who am I to sit there and say that? I don't know them from Adam or from anywhere. It's just like, unless you're sitting there running around, sitting there talking about kill all these N-words and all these S's, when you're sitting there saying, when you're sitting there speaking of Latino Americans, or if you're sitting there talking about get all those terrorists, then I can't sit there and say that you're racist. But anyway, I love the thought of this whole dynamic of what he put into this song. I thought it was very creative. I thought it was super dope. I loved it. I love how I felt like I was watching a documentary, a history documentary of the United States. I felt like I was back in my African American studies classes in my undergrad. I felt like I was in my second master's degree classes with American studies. I felt like this is something that he took out and just gave a history lesson. I feel like Brother Ali is like a philosopher in that sense, and he's speaking for the people who are disenfranchised, and he's shedding a light on, yes, like, even though I'm white, I can still see that you're hurt and that you're experiencing a pain that I wouldn't have to go through being a white man. And I like that, especially because when you're in America, white men sit at the top of the food chain. And it's like, I just love the whole dynamic of him being able to sit there and show that aspect of it, and to sit there and be like, and I stand with you in solidarity. So, let me know what you thought of Brother Ali with Uncle Sam Goddamn in the comments below. Sorry about that. I had a brain freezer what the title of the song was called, probably because I went on a tangent. But I thought that this was amazing. I thought it was well executed and well done. And I thought it was genius. I'm not going to rate it. And with that being said, please remember to be safe. Remember to stay awesome. Be awesome, because you guys are all awesome. This is your boy Mark, and I'm signing off. Deuces. Peace.
They need rappers like me. They need rappers like me, so they can get on their fucking keyboards and make me the bad guy, Chung Lee. Hey, yo, I've been